So we're here with Frank Luntz in his home for a couple minutes of candid talk about politics. Frank obviously is the premier man behind the scenes in the understanding of politics and why people do what they do, and it's an honor and a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time on a busy morning. So let's get to it. We've got a couple questions. We can talk for a few minutes. Tell us your overall sense of what's going to happen in Cleveland if you want to prognosticate.
It will be the definition of political conflict, both inside and outside the arena. Outside, Black Lives Matter and Occupy Wall Street and MoveOn.org and some of these most left-wing, bordering on violent, are clearly going to gather there to make a statement and do everything they can to prevent delegates from getting into the arena. So that's going to be a problem. Second is that Cleveland itself is not economically all that well off, and so they've picked a city, for better or worse, that itself could have issues. It's not as bad as Detroit, but it's not great either. And third is that what's going to happen inside the arena, Trump, Cruz, and Kasich. There's no love lost between them. There's no love lost between their delegates. Over the last 72 hours, I've been talking to people from various states, delegates, state chairmen, national committee people, the people on the inside, and everyone not just distrusts each other, but really resents each other. And so the bitterness on the inside and the craziness on the outside will coalesce. And I'm thinking it's going to be one of the most memorable conventions, probably the most since 1968 in Chicago.
Wow. So Trump does not show up with 1,237 at this point?
I think he's going to win all the delegates in New York. I think he'll get enough that he'll be able to do that. And that's a higher projection than a lot of people are giving him now. But I got to tell you, I know what's going on in these states, in a place like North Dakota, Colorado, Iowa, South Carolina, Louisiana, 5 states. Trump is not picking up the actual endorsements that correspond with the votes of the people. And it's very simple. There are rules. Trump is the biggest supporter of rule of law when it comes to immigration. You have to obey the rules. Well, it's the same philosophy when it comes to politics. This is how delegates are chosen. He understood rule number 1, which is the apprentice rule, which is get all the attention, grab the air in the room, and he's been dominant. But in the battle, not for who the delegates are to support, but for who they are, he's been non-existent. He's hired some very good people in the last week, but he is so late. Every other campaign had these people on board on the 1st of January. He's hiring them on the 1st of April. So already, 30% of the actual people are chosen. Next weekend is a big weekend for this. So it's not just about New York State. It's about the people who actually go, the bodies on the floor. And Trump is just getting started. So because of that, I actually think he is going to have a tremendous challenge getting to the amount that he needs. And it's going to weaken for him as time goes on. Trump will be at his highest on the first ballot. He has to win on the first ballot, or he will not win the nomination.
So as we were just discussing, it's not probable that Trump gets to Cleveland with 1,237. Then we have a contested convention. As delegates get released on the second and third ballot, as you pointed out, it becomes less likely he's the nominee. So prognosticate.
So let's say
wins it.
So let's say Trump drops. I think he'll drop about 200 delegates between the first and second ballot. Not because he's done anything wrong, but simply because the people who are being chosen to fill those slots do not support Trump and do not feel the need to back him, even though they had to do so in the first ballot. If there's no legal requirement, they can vote for anyone they want. He'll drop 200, and I believe Cruz picks up about 150 of those. So if Ted Cruz comes into the convention at 800 delegates, Trump comes in at, let's say, 1,200. So he's 37 votes short. Trump then drops below 1,000, but Cruz still doesn't go above 1,000. Then you have a third ballot, and based on what I know of the process, Trump will drop some more, and Cruz will go up some more. But even if they cross on the third ballot, that's still not enough. Cruz, I don't see how Trump wins if he doesn't get the first ballot. nomination. But Cruz still needs to climb so much to get there that I think he's got a problem unless he gets John Kasich's votes. What does that mean? We may not know the Republican nominee for a half a dozen ballots, even more.
Really?
And it's happened before. In 1924, it went over 100 ballots. In 1952, nobody had the majority on the first ballot after the votes were taken. There was shifting back and forth. So this is not something new. It has happened. It just never happened with all the TV cameras on.
Wow. So will there be a white knight? Will somebody else show up? Will it be Marco Rubio?
How is there a white knight when there are enough Trump voters that will not ever vote for Marco Rubio, or as Trump called them, Little Marco?
Right.
Or that there won't, or that Paul Ryan, who was the savior for the GOP in 2012 and then stepped in and became speaker. Cruz people aren't going to vote for Ryan. Trump people aren't going to vote for Ryan. Maybe Kasich people will if he gives up his delegates. But I got to tell you, I don't see it.
So do you have a prediction?
No.
It'll be somebody that we know about or someone that's going to be a surprise?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Very good. Last question. On Israel, Cruz has been steadfast in his support for Israel. Trump has made some rather weird statements about being fair on Israel, whatever that means. And he's then recounted or changed his stance with his AIPAC speech, which his son-in-law was involved in. Is Israel going to be an issue between the two of them?
No, good question. When I was a child, I didn't tell people that I was Jewish because I was afraid that there was anti-Semitism in the Republican Party. I just didn't want people to know. Today, the anti-Semitism and anti-Israel is almost exclusively Democrats. And Republicans almost unanimously have a strong pro-Israel, pro-security, pro-culture, pro-economics, pro-everything. Not that it's pro-Israel, but that they really believe in what Israel represents and what it does, and is willing to fight for them, willing to be the ally that Israel has expected from us. The Democrats, starting with Barack Obama, haven't been that ally. And if you read the language, I just went through all the AIPAC speeches word for word. Hillary Clinton isn't bad. Bernie Sanders doesn't even show up. I know that he says he's Jewish. Well,
yeah, he also made some outrageous statements about the Gaza war.
He's culturally, I don't even think he's culturally, he was born Jewish. Let's leave it at that. I believe that you judge someone's support based on how they behave under the toughest conditions. Ted Cruz walks into a Muslim session with hundreds of people who would be most likely hostile to Israel. And he says to them that this is one of my strongest positions. It is based on principle, and I will not bend. That tells me that Cruz, under whatever circumstance he's placed, will be the ally that Israel respects. And that's a big difference than what is happening today. I would also note that Hillary Clinton never stepped away from Barack Obama on the issue of Iran, or on on settlements, on any of the things that Obama's been hostile to Israel on. Hillary Clinton has never differentiated himself. So what makes you think that she will be any better for Israel? Her language is good, but she's never done that moment of saying, no, this isn't right, I will back Israel. Cheney did, Bush did, Rumsfeld did. There's a way to do it. Cruz did it that way. I don't know if these other candidates will.
Well, I can tell you I was in the room when Barack Obama, as his last candidate speech before AIPAC, made his speech about Jerusalem with the embassy, and there will never be daylight between the United States and Israel, and backed away from that every single day since he's been president.
He backed away from that every single day from when he was elected, and Rahm Emanuel has partial responsibility for that. Advocates for Israel will learn their lesson from Barack Obama, I hope. Let me say that in a better way. I hope advocates for Israel will learn the lessons of Barack Obama as they focus on 2012. By the way, it is wrong to criticize Obama at AIPAC. AIPAC is nonpartisan, and it is essential for Israel to have equal support among Democrats and Republicans alike. I truly believe that. And I think that under this administration, there's been a whole lot of tension between the Democrats, and the Republicans actually have to make a better effort at reaching out when it comes to Israel. That said, there is no question about where the GOP candidates stand on Israel, with perhaps the exception of Trump. There's always going to be questions on the Democratic side based on what Barack Obama has done.
Very good. Thanks so much for your time.
We got it.
Appreciate it.